Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this particular video. So every now and then I get DMs and comments etc. on saying that the wigs I wear look really realistic and that people who buy the wigs, it doesn't look realistic on them. And so I just thought I'd do a little video just to say the things that I do to make them look realistic. I think if you are completely new to wig wearing, I would say my first advice is to go with a wig that has the texture, the color, the density of your bio hair. So it doesn't feel completely different to what you look at in the mirror. So for me, for example, I always had really thin hair. So I would always then go for ideally a hand-tied cap with no permatease and a low density wig. Simply because that is what I identify with, so to speak, when I look in the mirror. The other thing to say is that most of my wigs that I show are actually secondhand. Therefore, they have a little bit more of a lived-in look. They are not new, they are not shiny, they have a lived-in look and therefore they look more realistic. Another thing to consider is to go onto like eBay or any like Facebook wig selling groups and see if people are selling their wigs. And I would aim for one that has been worn maybe 4 or 5 times, about a month maybe, etc., because that will give you still a really nice looking wig, but it has been lived in. If you get one straight out of the box new, the first thing I say, check your retailer's return policy, because as soon as you do something to it, it's quite likely that you cannot return it. Really important. So straight out of the box, what I do, so when I decide I keep it, is I shake it, and not just once, twice, quite a bit, quite hard. And then when I put it on, I really go in with my fingers to really loosen these fibers up, because they've been sitting in the box and have been like clumped together, and that doesn't give you a real movement, and so it might look wiggy. So really go in there with your fingers, really get it all loosened, so to speak. And then I also brush through if I don't want to keep the curl pattern exactly as it is out of the box, I use a brush or comb and comb through it. Or if you're not sure, just use your fingers to just, ease off these waves. And if it hasn't got waves, if it's a straight one, it just gives you a little bit more of the movement again, So that's one of the first things I do. The second thing I do is if you have a zigzag parting, I take that out, because nobody in real life with real bio hair has got that zigzag. So I take it out with a little comb and take it out, and then I check what does this actually look like. If it is quite dense, again, that doesn't look realistic, so I then pluck it out. The other option to do that is, if you still have bio hair, for example, underneath it, is use some kind of scar tape underneath, because that looks like then skin and it shows you a little bit more of what that part would look like. And then if you're still not happy, then you can pluck it. Don't pluck it in a straight line, pluck a little bit here and a little bit there, and just one bit at a time. Don't over pluck it. I do the same with the lace front. If I don't like the look of the lace front because it's too straight, it's too dense, etc., you pluck it out. Okay, I pluck mine quite a bit, but this is because I'm very used to seeing on me a line that is a little bit receding, and definitely not straight. So shake it out, brush it out, go in there with your fingers, pluck if you have to. The other thing that I do, if I'm still not happy with it, play with it. Sometimes just moving the part just a little bit more to one side or the other, it can make all the difference on how the hair lies and how it then appears to you. If you have a mono top, you can then move it to the other side, and sometimes again that makes it look slightly different to how the hair lies. If it is a problem, if it is difficult to move it, because at the moment this is because it's only a part, not a mono top, use some water and then push it flat, let it dry, and then the fibers will not stick up like this, but they will have moved to where you wanted them and should lay a little bit flatter. Sometimes you might feel that your hair, especially around here, has a little bit of a helmety look. Sometimes if you have permatease, that definitely can happen. And again, if you have been wearing it for a few hours, go in there with your fingers again to loosen this up. Because for some reason with permatease, it seems to clump up after a while. So go in there again and re-loosen it to make it move more natural. The other option is to put a headband in, because if you have the poof there, or if you have something like a helmet look, put a headband in, it disguises it. Or sometimes I clip up my fringe, and then again it gets rid of a helmet look. So I would say the main thing to do is play with it and then wear it. Wear it, because eventually things will just start to drop a little bit. At the beginning, everything is just kind of can be pushed up a bit. And even if you had it for a while and left it in the box for a while, it does then take a few hours again to just drop and feel and move a bit more natural. The other thing is baby hairs, because even though I have a shaved head, I leave a little bit on the sides, for example here, and that already also makes it a little bit more realistic. You can also cut in some baby hairs here, especially if you haven't got a lace front on the sides. So you then can cut in some baby hairs here and maybe even at the front here to make it a bit more imperfect. So sometimes with longer wigs, I have these very long strands that run from the ear tap all the way down. And that's not natural. I don't think there are many people who have that kind of long hair, long bio hair, and have got a very perfectly healthy long strand here. So for me, I normally cut this to to my chin length here. With the shorter ones, I don't think it really matters. Okay, so it still looks quite natural. But with longer ones, I definitely would, the ones that come from the ear tabs, I would cut these very slightly, not like a whole strand, just like a little bit. A few little strands that are just hanging loosely here and are shorter than the long ones. I personally hardly ever do this, but some people find the knots that you can see, especially when you have darker roots or a brunette color, that you can see knots. I'm not that bothered. I hardly ever do anything about them, except if they are really big and quite obvious. So people then put concealer or foundation or something like that, especially in the part and sometimes at the front. The other thing I sometimes do is cut back the lace front, because sometimes it just comes down too far, or there is too much of a line, especially if it's a little bit of a tighter wig cap on me and it kind of pinches in almost. So you definitely get a very straight line there that you can see. And then I just cut it ever so slightly to get rid of that very obvious line. These are my tips. These are the things I do to make my wigs look a little bit more realistic. I hope this was helpful. If you still have questions or any comments, just pop them below and I will answer them for you as good as I can. And I hope I see you soon. Have a lovely day. Bye.